Good evening and welcome to the evening news for today, Monday, May 30th, 2022. I am Jemima Holmes. Thank you for tuning in. Now let's take a look at some of the lead stories tonight. Guyana's development will not be held hostage. President Ali after Norton fails to attend the meeting. Government leaning towards passive shareholder model for ownership of oil blocks, says VP. Guyana receives $1.7 billion in flaring fines so far from EXXONMOBIL, and from murders to accidents, multiple tragic deaths recorded within the past 72 hours. Now for the news in detail. Criticizing what he considers to be an act of unwillingness and immaturity, President Dr. Irfan Ali has made it clear that the country's development will not be held hostage by petty politics. He made the remark after the leader of the opposition failed to show up for a second round of consultations with the Guyanese head of state. Here's our lead story tonight.
Following their meeting on May 13, 2022, President Dr. Irfan Ali and opposition leader Aubrey Norton had agreed to meet again within a week to continue consultations on several constitutional appointments. However, due to several pressing matters, that second meeting was not scheduled within a week. These matters included a massive inaugural Agri-Forum and Expo, which attracted hundreds of delegates from across the globe, including CARICOM heads of government. This was closely followed by the regional and national Independence Day celebrations. On May 27, 2022, Governance Minister Gail Teixeira wrote the opposition leader explaining the circumstances and invited him for a second meeting at 14 hours on Monday, May 30, 2022. However, when President Ali and his team showed up for the meeting, the opposition leader never showed. President Ali then went live on social media where he addressed the matter.
It's now 2:34 p.m. and the leader of the opposition has absented himself from this meeting. We have received no verbal or oral communication from the leader of the opposition or his office.
In this regard, President Ali made it clear that he will not let the country's development be held hostage.
I am pursuing one Guyana. It is clear to me that those aspirations of mine may not be shared by Mr. Norton because he did not have the dignity, the professionalism to even respond orally or in writing to an invitation by the office of the president. If this is the approach of the leader of the opposition, I have no problems with that. My approach is to move this country forward. Our approach in this government is to take our country forward in keeping with constitutional requirements. And we will not have those requirements held up or held hostage by political objectives.
Meanwhile, in the correspondence dated May 30 that was released to the media, the leader of the opposition wrote Minister Teixeira saying that he is unavailable to meet due to prior commitments and the press schedule. Norton also argued that it was unacceptable that a second meeting was not scheduled within the week, as was initially agreed during the first meeting of May 13. Bisham Mohammed, The Evening News.
Vice President Barry Jagdeo has announced that the government is leaning towards a strategic passive shareholder model partnership with oil companies for ownership of oil blocks that have been allocated. Gerald Bryan tells us more.
During a press conference on Monday, Vice President Barry Jagdeo spoke about the possibility of a national oil company. He noted that the government is aware of all the concerns and further encouraged healthy debates on the topic. The Vice President went on to explain that the government is currently not in favor of the traditionally styled oil company which take on the fiscal risks of developing oil blocks themselves. In fact, he noted that if they vest the remaining oil blocks in a national oil company, it can slow down the exploration process.
From our side, we've been putting some additional concerns about national oil companies, not the most obvious ones that I mentioned that have been written about by everyone, and not the fact that the IMF said that we shouldn't do it, because we don't take IMF lectures as gospel in this country. The model that we are talking about, should we go down this route, is not an old style NOC. It is about more a passive ownership of shares in companies in exchange for some of the offshore blocks that we have given.
He explained that this can work with the government getting a strategic partner they have no control over except through shareholder access.
How does that work in exchange for the offshore blocks that we will allocate? So how would that work, that model? We just simply say that we're getting a strategic partner, we're taking a share of the company, but we have no control over operations or management except for the controls given to shareholders through ownership. And that is through passive ownership by virtue of owning shares. So that's the model. Notice I'm just telling you these because I want you to, especially the media, to understand what the thinking in government is at this point in time.
The government is currently gearing up for the auction of free and relinquished oil blocks in September of this year. While they have not made a final decision on whether to do a seismic survey or not, Jagdeo indicated that the government favors going to the auction without one. Gerald Bryan, The Evening News.
The Ministry of Health will soon launch a pilot program to improve the delivery of healthcare services and establish interagency collaboration with healthcare institutions countrywide. Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony made this disclosure at the launch of the country's first ever telehealth app, Health First, at the Marriott Hotel on Saturday. Here is Shane Marks with the details.
The virtual platform, which was conceptualized in 2019 by On Call Health, will allow patients to connect easily with health practitioners through a real-time video-enabled feature. Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony underscored that this approach will allow healthcare personnel to liaise with each other for additional medical assistance regardless of geography.
Now, we are hoping to start a pilot this year where the person who would be at the health center would also have internet-enabled devices. So they would have stethoscopes and ultrasound capabilities and some other tools that would be available to them that would allow them to do proper or a more thorough examination of the patient. And based on that, for the patient, for the doctor on the other side, probably to be able to make a diagnosis with these parameters.
He believes this innovative approach has hastened government's intention to deal with legislation relating to patient and data confidentiality.
We'll have to accelerate the drafting of this legislation and trying to get that in Parliament, because I think these things have to go hand in hand for people to have that level of confidence. So that's something that we'll work on, and since you're a first in the industry, I guess we'll have to talk to you and some of the other players to make sure that we are capturing what we need to capture.
This is one of the many initiatives being undertaken by the ministry to transform the healthcare sector. The program is a collaborative effort among the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Guyana Telephone and Telegraph Company, and healthcare providers. Shane Marks, The Evening News.
Guyana has so far received payments to the tune of US $8.3 million from EXXONMOBIL's local affiliate Esso Exploration and Production Guyana Limited for 17 billion cubic feet of gas flared since production started. This was revealed by Environmental Protection Agency Executive Director Kemraj Parsram, who noted that this figure includes 1.5 billion cubic feet of gas that was flared since the start of this year. The EPA head has assured that EXXONMOBIL has been making progress progress on addressing the flaring issue. The U.S. oil giant has come under criticism over its increased flaring in recent years, with environmentalists up in arms over the harmful effects it has on the environment. Last year, the oil giant had sent the Lisa Destiny gas compressor for repairs in Germany after it developed technical issues, resulting in increased flaring. But after reinstallation in April, technical issues were still encountered, forcing the company to significantly drop production to as low as 30,000 barrels per day. By May, production went up and flaring was at approximately 15 million standard cubic feet of gas. Over the following months, EXXONMOBIL has since brought the compressor online and has been able to cut down its flaring by 96%. A 59-year-old man who was infected with the novel coronavirus is the country's latest COVID-19 fatality, taking the total deaths recorded to date to 1,224. The man, who hailed from Region 4, was fully vaccinated. Meanwhile, the country also recorded 11 new cases of the virus, taking the total positives detected to date to 64,628. There are 3 persons in the ICU, 20 in institutional isolation, 606 in home isolation, and 3 in institutional quarantine. Recovery stand at 62,765. Coming up, from murders to accidents, multiple tragic deaths recorded within the past 72 hours. Do stay with us. More news ahead.
Your child needs nutrients every day. Enfagrow has DHA and iron, which supports your child's mental development. Enfagrow has components which cow's milk does not contain. Support your toddler's growth and complement their diet with Enfagrow. Let's fuel the wonder.
This product is not intended to be a substitute for breast milk. Mental development depends on various factors such as stimulation and adequate nutrition. Commercial cow's milk does not contain DHA but contains calcium and other nutrients.
With the approval of each new oil production project offshore, more jobs and opportunities are created onshore. And not just for those working in the oil and gas sector, more Guyanese are providing support services in transportation, catering, logistics, accommodation and hospitality, among many others. Oil and gas development is fueling Guyana's transformation.
Try our virtual sports and win big with so much matches to choose from. Betting starts at $100. Play for your chance to win. Log on to www.superbet.gy or visit any one of our agents to place your bets. Terms and conditions apply. Have fun and play responsibly. Must be 18 and over to play.
Your child needs nutrients every day. Enfagrow has DHA and iron, which supports your child's mental development. Enfagrow has components which cow's milk does not contain. Support your toddler's growth and complement their diet with Enfagrow. Let's fuel the wonder.
This product is not intended to be a substitute for breast milk. Mental development depends on various factors such as stimulation and adequate nutrition. Commercial cow's milk does not contain DHA but contains calcium and other nutrients.
Sunshine snacks, cheese balls, grab a sunshine, double cheese balls. We are crunch on a cheese balls. Mommy, daddy, nickel pick, double cheese balls. Sunshine snacks, cheese balls, grab a sunshine snack, cheese balls. Love cheese in every bite, flavor in every crunch. Extra cheese, we love it so much. Love cheese in every bite. Grab a sunshine, double cheese balls. We are crunch on a cheese balls. Mommy, daddy, nickel pick, double cheese balls. Sunshine snacks, cheese balls.
Grab a Sunshine Snacks cheese puffs today. More.
Your child needs nutrients every day. Enfagrow has DHA and iron, which supports your child's mental development. Enfagrow has components which cow's milk does not contain. Support your toddler's growth and complement their diet with Enfagrow. Let's fuel the wonder.
This product is not intended to be a substitute for breast milk. Mental development depends on various factors such as stimulation and adequate nutrition. Commercial cow's milk does not contain DHA but contains calcium and other nutrients.
Looking to bring your dream home to reality or simply taking on a home improvement project? Then National Hardware Limited is where you should start. Let us put that touch to your home. Choose from over 1,000 Berger Paint original hues for any surface. We are known for our trusted brands such as Westinghouse, Philips, Satco, Rubbermaid, Pyrex, Gibson Home, and so much more. National Hardware Limited, your do-it-best store, located in downtown Georgetown and industrial site Rijnveld.
Welcome back. You're watching the evening news. Police are investigating the circumstances surrounding an accident which has left one person dead and another injured following an accident along the Quarantine Highway last evening. Our Berbice correspondent Andrew Carmichael has that story.
Dead is 26-year-old Kevin Alert of Eversham Village, while the injured person is 21-year-old Nicholas Johnson of number 51 Village Quarantine. According to the police, at around 22:50 hours on Sunday along the number 63 public road, Alert was driving motorcar PAC 1403 with Johnson as a lone passenger. The motorcar was proceeding south along the said road at a fast rate of speed. While in the process of negotiating a right turn, the driver lost control and collided with a concrete culvert and then into a GPL utility pole. As a result of the collision, both the driver and occupant received injuries. They were picked up in an unconscious state by public-spirited citizens and taken to the Skeldon Hospital and subsequently transferred to the New Amsterdam Hospital. Johnson was admitted to the hospital and his condition is regarded as serious but stable. Alert, however, succumbed while receiving medical attention.
Last night, about 20 to 11, there's a car coming at excessive speed. And he was taking the turn, number 63 turn, going towards Skeldon side. And the result of that, the tires had screeched because the driver lost control of this car. And it careened onto the tip of my culvert, hit one of the road light pole, break the pole from the root, and continue its journey towards the rice mill first entrance. And there the car flipped 2 times and end up in front of the fence of the rice mill.
Afia Alert told the media that her brother, who operates a hire car between the Quarantine and Georgetown along with his cousin, were on the way to Skeldon when the accident occurred.
It's the other cousin car that he went with. He left to mourn his 2 sisters, a brother, his mother, his father, and other relatives. It's a kind of hard situation, but I'm just trying to cope with the situation because as the person that has to stand to do everything until my mother and father came. Well, my brother is a very kind-hearted person. He is a person that he doesn't speak much unless something really bothers him, then he would speak. Or he would feel like making a joke, then he would make a joke. But otherwise, today is a very easy, quiet, outgoing person.
Police say the incident is still being investigated. Andrew Carmichael, The Evening News.
A 40-year-old coconut vendor of Pleasance, East Coast Demerara, is now in police custody after he stabbed 2 friends on Sunday morning, killing one and injuring the other. The dead man has been identified as 31-year-old Neil Rampersad, an engineer of Pulwari Street, Better Hope, East Coast Demerara. Injured is Mohan Panku, also of Pulwari Street, Better Hope. It was reported that sometime between 6:35 hours on the day in question, the suspect and Panchu had a misunderstanding during which the suspect himself with a metal rod and dealt Panchu several stabs about his body, causing injuries. Rampersad, who was Panchu's friend and also knew the suspect, learned of the stabbing at about 7:38 hours. The engineer went to confront the suspect in the vicinity of Zahora Street, Better Hope, and demanded that the suspect turn himself in at the police station. This resulted in the two men getting into an altercation, during which Rampersad dealt the suspect 2 lashes about his body. The suspect, who was armed with a coconut blade, at the time retaliated by also stabbing Rampersad to his upper left side ribs, causing severe injuries. After being stabbed, the injured Rampersad ran away from his attacker and was subsequently rushed to the Woodlands Hospital in Georgetown, where he succumbed while receiving medical attention. The suspect was later arrested by ranks of the Sparendam police station. We now tell you that after separating less than a month ago, a Rosignol Region 5 cane harvester took his own life shortly after brutally stabbing his ex-girlfriend on Saturday. Our Berbice correspondent Andrew Carmichael reports.
Dead is 26-year-old Adrian Anthony Passad of Lot 4, Backer Street, Rosignol, West Bank, Berbice, while the injured woman has been identified as 21-year-old Maria Singh of Bennett Dam, Rosignol. The woman was reportedly stabbed while in a vehicle at a service station on the Rosignol Public Road. Reports are that the couple had been living together for just over 1 year and had separated several times during that period. However, 3 weeks ago they again parted ways and Singh moved in with relatives just 1 house away from Passad. According to Afia Hackman, her niece left home to go to work on Saturday, and shortly after, she received a report that Singh was stabbed and taken to hospital.
Every morning she just got to take taxi for her work because he was there after she. When she come home night time, you're there by the big truck, they wait for she and so.
That was ever reported to the police before?
Yeah.
Get several reports in the station. The station sergeant come out 3 times one night for you get away and hide. You come tap the zinc, tap it, the wood and lash up their house, tap and thing.
It was reported that Singh, who works as a cook at Big B's restaurant in the village, was scheduled to work at another location and had boarded a motor car which made a stop at the service station to fuel up. The young woman was in the front passenger seat with the windows wound up. However, after the driver exited the vehicle, Passad opened the back door and attacked his former partner with a knife before escaping. According to the now dead man's grandmother, Radhika Passad Johnson, her grandson had been after Singh to collect his medication which she took with him when she moved out. She said on Saturday he had been stalking her.
Right there, right at the and he said, Mommy, me go catch you because I'm a catch you with taxi. And anyway, when me see do come in, me see throw down the bicycle there. When he throw down the bicycle and the bag there, breathless, actually keep for hope in the bag here. Mommy, me go dead, Mommy, me go dead. You know what? Me chest no bore up nalo, me chest bore nalo, and me if nalo go dead, but me I go dead. And take a big bag, poison so. And he gurgle, me try to take away. And he walk with a big bag, and he gurgle, and he fall, run in a bush and he fall.
Passad had been living with his grandmother since he was a toddler after his mother had died by suicide. Passad has 3 siblings. Meanwhile, Singh was still in her mother's wound when the woman was set on fire. Doctors had to surgically save the unborn child by removing her from her mother's uterus. Singh's father then took his life after his wife was burned. The grandmother admitted that Passad was physically abusive to Singh. Singh received a stab wound to her foot, 2 to her breast, 1 each to her thigh and arm. Her condition is considered stable. Andrew Carmichael, The Evening News.
Police are investigating the murder of 29-year-old Rohit Hansraj, called Master, of Wakenham Island, which occurred on Saturday at Tiger Creek, Essequibo River. Hansraj was allegedly shot dead by a 35-year-old co-worker of Aliki, Essequibo River. Investigations revealed that the suspect and victim both worked for Tulsi Persad Logging Company as operators in the Tiger Creek area, Essequibo River. On the said date, at around 14 hours, the now dead man, along with 2 other workers, were consuming alcohol. The suspect approached one of the other workers and accused him of looking at his wife. Hansraj intervened and managed to get the suspect to return to his cabin. The suspect shortly after returned with a shotgun. Hansraj and the suspect became embroiled in an argument, during which the suspect discharged a round from the firearm, which struck Hansraj to his upper left shoulder area. He was subsequently pronounced dead at the Bartica Hospital. hospital. The suspect then escaped into some nearby bushes with the said firearm. Meanwhile, a young man died on Saturday after a tractor toppled and pinned him while he was working in the backlands at Mahaica, East Coast, Demerara. The man has been identified as Avinash Persad. According to information received by this newscast, Persad was working in the backlands when he reportedly encountered difficulties with the tractor, which suddenly toppled and pinned him in a swampy area. Persons who were nearby rushed to Persad's assistance. After being removed from under the tractor, an unconscious Persad was rushed to the hospital, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. Also on Saturday evening, a 67-year-old man was killed after he crashed an electric bike. He was riding into a water truck along Mandela Avenue, Georgetown. Dead is Karan Mahadio, an employee at the National Park who resided at West Rheinfeldt, Georgetown. On the scene, the driver, along with eyewitnesses, told this newscast that the canter was heading west along Mandela Avenue, and while in the vicinity of BK International and John Fernandez terminals, the man rode out of a street and into the path of the vehicle. As a result, the electric bike collided with the canter, thus causing a collision. Mahadio was reportedly struck down and dragged some distance before the truck came to a halt. Following the accident, emergency responders arrived at the scene where the man was pronounced dead. The driver of the vehicle was also taken into custody. Two young men, aged 25 and 27, are now dead after they were electrocuted whilst conducting welding work at the Trans Rice Mill located at Branch Road, Maikoni, East Coast, Demerara. Dead are 27-year-old Shaqueen Butts, a laborer of Lot 4, Airy Hall, Maikoni, and 25-year-old Gosham Narain, a welder of Lot 78, XXX Nonprel, East Coast, Demerara. The incident occurred on Friday at about 16:20 hours. It was reported that Butts and Narain were building a metal shed at the eastern side of the Trans Rice Mill and were reportedly standing on a metal scaffold. Shortly after welding some plates, Narain was reportedly seen lengthening the 20-feet metal scaffold when it connected to the Guyana Power and Light line and shocked him. At the time, Butts was still on the scaffold. Butts then held on to Narain, thus resulting in him also being electrocuted. Both of the men then fell off the scaffold and onto the ground. They were picked up and rushed to the Maikoni Public Hospital, where Narain was pronounced dead on arrival and Butts subsequently died while receiving treatment. We now tell you that a 40-year-old captain is now missing and is feared dead after two boats collided in the Mazaruni River on Saturday at around 17:45 hours. Missing is Fabian Sam of Jawala Village, Upper Mazaruni, Region 7. Reports are that Sam was operating a 35-foot long boat powered by a 30 HP outboard engine, while another boat, 30-foot long with a 15 HP engine, was being captained by a 48-year-old man. Police said Sam was navigating his boat, which had 5 occupants, along the Mazaruni River, and upon approaching the confluence of the Mazaruni and Cuckoo rivers, the light from the other boat was observed approaching head-on from the opposite direction. An occupant in Sam's boat, in an attempt to get the other boat to change direction, flashed his torchlight in a bid to avoid a collision, but to no avail. The boat subsequently collided, which resulted in Sam being thrown overboard. A passenger in the boat was also injured. The injured man was transported to the Camarang Hospital and later transferred to the Georgetown Public Hospital, while a search for the missing captain has so far proved futile. Meanwhile, the other boat captain has since been taken into police custody, assisting with the investigations. Meanwhile, over the weekend, the medical fraternity in Guyana was plunged into a state of mourning following the death of renowned cardiologist Dr. Ramsundar Dubey, who died on Sunday morning at the age of 79. Dr. Dubey had been ill for the past several months. He passed away at his Campbellville, Georgetown home. Having started his journey in the late 1960s, Dr. Dubey has had an illustrious medical career, serving the public health sector uninterrupted with brief stints, simultaneously at various private institutions. Dr. Dubey served as the head of the Internal Medicine Department at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation for more than 50 years before he was asked to step down in 2016 under the APNU AFC administration. Under his tenure there, he not only helped develop the treatment guidelines for several diseases, but was also a mentor for and had trained most of Guyana's current crop of top medical practitioners, including Dr. Mahendra Karpan. Describing him as one of the country's finest and most dedicated medical professionals, the Health Ministry has said that Dr. Dubey is a national hero who toiled in the total absence of public attention. And now for a look at the birth reports.
The Demerara Harbor Bridge is scheduled to be closed on Tuesday, May 31st at 3:30 hours for a period of 1.5 hours. Meanwhile, the Berbice River Bridge is scheduled to be closed on Tuesday, May 31st at 17:25 hours for a period of 1.5 hours.
A lot of my decisions you may not like, says Puran on captaincy, and Sarwan resigns from CWI selection panel. Details of these stories and more in the Sportcast, sponsored by MaCorp, coming up on the other side of the break.
Your child needs nutrients every day. Enfagrow has DHA and iron, which supports your child's mental development. Enfagrow has components which cow's milk does not contain. Support your toddler's growth and complement their diet with Enfagrow. Let's fuel the wonder.
This product is not intended to be a substitute for breast milk. Mental development depends on various factors such as stimulation and adequate nutrition. Commercial cow's milk does not contain DHA but contains calcium and other nutrients.
Get in the game, get in the game, get in the game with Buster, play.
Get in the game with Buster. Win a full gaming setup, Xbox X, gaming chair, gaming speaker and headset, or any of over 60 weekly prizes like Oculus Quest 2, Mini 2 drone, Nintendo Switch, Xbox X Series. Just purchase any bottle of Buster, Turbo, Altitude, Classic, or Viva and look for the code on the bottle. Then visit Buster Instagram and Facebook at Buster Guyana for more details.
At John Lewis Styles, we carry only first quality, men's and women's clothing, footwear, and accessories. As authorized dealers, our items come directly from the manufacturing brands, and are available in all sizes and colors. What we sell was never on display in another store. It's time you know the truth about what you buy. Come visit us on Waterloo Street. John Lewis Styles. Simply different.
Your child needs nutrients every day. Enfagrow has DHA and iron, which supports your child's mental development. Enfagrow has components which cow's milk does not contain. Support your toddler's growth and complement their diet with Enfagrow. Let's fuel the wonder.
This product is not intended to be a substitute for breast milk. Mental development depends on various factors such as stimulation and adequate nutrition. Commercial cow's milk does not contain DHA but contains calcium and other nutrients.
Complete control of power is in your hands with the ultimate U.S. brand Generac generators from Sylvie's Variety Store. Get the supply and reliability you need every time. From 1,800 to 8,000 watts of power for residential and commercial use. Recoil and electric start with gasoline engines. Generac generators from the authorized dealers Sylvie's Variety Store.
Over the years, ISG has been providing all sectors across Guyana with quality products and outstanding customer service. Proud distributor of NP and Ultra lubricants, engineered for tropical conditions. International trucks and parts, leading the change. SEM Machinery, a Caterpillar brand. SKF bearings and mounted products. Napa batteries. Tide power generators. Discover the greatest source of power. Industrial Supply of Guyana Inc. The best opportunity to make the right choice.